Thank you for joining us. My name is Bill Gillespie. I'm a member of the board at Old Pueblo Archaeology Center here in Tucson, Arizona, a nonprofit organization that's bringing you this evening's Third Thursday for Food Thought presentation. And for this program, Old Pueblo is delighted to introduce our guest speaker, rock art specialist Jane Kolber. Jane got into rock art research through her career as an art teacher, from anywhere from fourth grade through college art. She became interested in rock art after a while she was teaching art on the Navajo Nation at Ganado, and thought it was important for her students to learn about the art of their people. Jane had a neighbor, a fellow teacher, and a good friend, Donna Yoder, who told her about a rock art field school. And Jane joined up and spent quite a bit of time with the New Mexico Archaeological Society Field School, including a number of sessions at Chaco. And that led her to teaching a rock art class at Arizona's Cochise College, which is probably the first regular college level class in the United States completely devoted to rock art. She also led the Arizona Archaeological Society Rock Art Field School for many years. And what turned out to be the origin of her talk this evening, Jane asked the folks at Chaco Culture National Historic Park if she could add to the records of a rock art site there that she was particularly fond of. When she turned in the results, Chaco Park staff asked her to return and continue. And return she did, and continue she did for a few more decades, eventually directing the Chaco Rock Art Reassessment Program and the Chaco Navajo Rock Art Project for the Park Service. Jay's also has chaired the conservation, the awards, and the nomination committees of the American Rock Art Research Association, and has lectured and taught rock art recording in many places throughout the world. In Old Pueblo Archaeology's program this evening, she'll give us a sample of the extensive rock imagery in and near Chaco Canyon. So welcome, Jane.
Thank you, Bill. Now, what do I do?
Click on your share button on the Zoom window.
Okay, sorry.
Find your file image, click on it once. And then click on the share button down at the bottom. There you go.
Okay.
And the slideshow from beginning.
Slideshow. I did slideshow and then from beginning.
Yeah, click on slideshow again. There you go. Now from beginning. Now click on slideshow again. You accidentally clicked it twice. Okay, now click on from beginning.
From beginning isn't up.
Okay, on that yellow bar that's there, click on the X to the far right of it. Close that. Okay, now click on slideshow again.
I'm going to briefly interject that this is Jane's first ever Zoom presentation, which I think is quite exceptional, and that's great she's doing it. And so you may need a little patience, just getting started.
Okay.
Okay, now click once on slideshow.
Slideshow.
Yeah, I think your computer's reacting kind of slow. And now try from beginning. Yeah, it's closing up on it. Okay, here's an alternative method. Down at the bottom of that screen on the right, you see a bunch of icons. And you see the slider bar down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to the left of that, there's an icon that looks like a projector screen.
Yes.
Click once on that.
There it is. Okay, but we're ahead.
There we go.
There.
So now just take your mouse wheel and roll back. There you go. You're on.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Chaco's my favorite place in the whole world, and I've been allowed to work there. I've been given that great privilege, And Chaco has great rock art, but no, not many people know that. Now, for those of you who don't know where Chaco is, it's in northwestern New Mexico, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And you have to be going to Chaco to get there because it isn't on the way to any place or in the way from any place. And it's not a very spectacular canyon. There's nothing very impressive in the features of the canyon, and it's got a terrible road that's going into there, and we like it that way because it keeps only the people who want to go going there. It's got really great washboards and clay that just grabs your tire, and so you don't want to go in there if it's raining or snowing or anything like that. And this is Pajada Butte, and this is something that you see from far, far away coming in, and you know that you're going to the right place. And later on, I'll show you when we went up, way up there. They made me go up there. And let's see. Okay, Chaco's known for its great architecture. And it's spread out, and there are places like this. This is called Pueblo Bonito. And these are the dates of the major occupation that are disputed among many different archaeologists, but Tom Wines is someone I like, so we'll use his dates. And here's Pueblo Bonito from the back. This is referred to as a great house. And Pueblo Bonito is the largest. There are, I believe, 12 great houses in Chaco, and they're gathering places. Excuse me, the kivas here, the round rooms, are gathering places. Here is a large kiva, and mostly for religious and for men's gathering. I thought I'd pull us off with this. When I took this picture, I stood there, and I could hear the snow flakes landing on my jacket. It was so quiet. The Chacoans, in addition to all the architecture, they also produced some functional art, and some of them had, they were figurative, and they also painted inside the kivas. Some of them had figures in them. But what I've been most interested in, and many, many people not interested in is the rock art, the carvings and paintings that they did on rock surfaces. Now, after people get the food and clothing and the shelter that they need, the next thing that they do is they need to express themselves, and they create art. And this happens with all peoples, and it becomes the most valuable thing in their culture. And I can tell you that in our culture, and in our the dominant culture of the United States, we value art a great deal. Like I just heard that the Mona Lisa is now valued at $1 billion. So I don't think there's anything more. Maybe a spaceship is more than that.
Excuse me, Jane, you need to turn on your camera on the Zoom.
What?
Your camera is off. Could you turn that on again?
How do I do that?
Move your cursor to the top of the Zoom window, and you'll see a bar pickup, and then you'll see that the camera or the video icon.
Oh, okay.
Click on that to
Okay.
put the camera on.
Okay.
There you go.
And the Chacoans created art on their cliffs. And in this area, which is in the central part of Chaco, sometimes referred to as downtown Chaco, there isn't a meter space where there isn't any rock art. Now, most of people who go to Chaco and they find that the rock art's very difficult to see, and any rock art that they seem to think they see this kind of stuff. And that doesn't interest them very much. So they think, oh, it's not very important. Now, we don't know that this isn't important. This is from this dominant culture's viewpoint, and it's hard to see, and it doesn't have any significance for us. But then if we look up, we'll see some images up there. And here there is what we call a patina, or an iron oxide coating that has fallen onto the rock, and the people have dug into this coating and made images. But this doesn't happen very much in Chaco. And then there's also paintings, but the paintings are in places that are difficult to see, because in order for the paint to have lasted all these years, they have to be in places that are very very sheltered. And if there was any paint on images that were out where the air, the winds and the rains could get them, that the paintings would not exist anymore. Here's a painting that still exists, but that's because it is sheltered underneath. It is facing downward. And this is a very famous painting, and some people think that this portrays the supernova of 1054. And then they think that this part over here portrays the Halley's Comet that appeared around that time also. It's hard to see. It's not as sheltered, it's protected as this one. It's also very difficult to photograph. We could spend all day standing there and maybe getting a decent photograph, but we're never going to get a good photograph of this because this is concave. It's not flat. And what they painted, and the most common recognizable thing that people paint in the world is the hand. They put the hand in the paint, and then they press it against the wall. And in Chaco, we've got lots of these. We've got them in here. We've got them with mud, and we've got them with iron oxide paint. We also have red ones. We have white ones. We have yellow ones. Got lots of handprints. However, in Chaco, we've got more footprints than handprints. This is in the first 114 sites that we recorded. I counted 156 hands, 100, and you can see the numbers of the human-like feet and the animal-like feet. So the feet really dominate Chaco Canyon's walls. And here, if you'll notice, is a six-toed foot, and there are a number of six-toed foot. So we've got 8-toed feet, and rock arts. Some of you may not know how rock art is created. You take a rock and you hit it against the wall. Now, if you want to control it more, you take a hammer rock and hit that striking rock, and then you've got more control. And that's what we call pecking. And then we can take a rock and we can use it on its side, a smooth side, and we can abrade it. And we can take another rock that's sharp on the edge and we can incise it. And the Chacoans did combine all three here. Here's some more six-toed feet. And these are in Pueblo Bonito, and they are on the wall of a kiva. And so there were three of them here. I don't know if there's more. Maybe there was another one over here. But somebody, this is when we recorded it in the 1970s, and somebody after that went and damaged it by putting this cross in here. And so the Park Service had to fill in this space. And so you can't see this anymore because graffiti begets graffiti. Once somebody puts their name down or their mark down, then you got tons more of it. Now, along this wall, we've got lots and lots of feet, all different kinds of animal feet. We've got a couple other places where we have a lot of animal feet. And I've taken some, Chaco has 26 tribal groups that name their heritage in Chaco. And some of these people have come out, showed them around. Some people have helped work with us. And several times when I've taken them to this wall, they will talk about their migration. Now here are some sandal prints also. And this is a kind of sandal print called a jog-toed sandal. And Chaco artists were very creative. Here is a foot with arms and hands, another one with arms and hands. And for feet, it's got little deer. And there's lots of animals in Chaco rock art. And sometimes we know what animal they are. And we think these are cats, but I don't know, with this big proboscis in front of it and long ears and a split tail, I'm not sure. Lots of birds. And they've shown in different ways. Here is a bird on a head, which is a common figure throughout Southwestern rock art. Here are two probable macaws, and one is shown splayed out and one's from the side. Here they found a little bit of patina and they carved into that. Here is a bird's head on a piece of ceramics. Oh, this slid. Oh, this slid out, but you might be able to see it. This is the largest single figure that we have found in the park. And we think it's a female. And I don't know what's the matter with this slide, but well, you can tell here, this is why they think it's a female. So we've thought it was a female human. And some people say, or no, one person said, should I say, that this is also the way a bear sits. And it kind of has claw-like things, so we don't know. Now this one, I can say that I'm pretty sure that I know what this is because it's very detailed and it looks very much like a Jerusalem cricket. They made designs and Jerry Brody said that he thought that the ones that had the solid edge around them represented textiles, and the one that had open edges around them represented pottery designs. And we have T-shapes, and they're kind of like the doorways And but there was a Hopi man who told me that it's like our haircuts, but I think he was teasing me. And we have a number of these kinds of things, which could be maps, which could be webs, which could be floor plans. There's lots of things that these could be, but there's a number of them. And then someone said that they thought that there was, these could hold water, but the water ran out. We put some water in it and it ran out right away. Now, this is the Royal Spiral. This is one rock art researcher said to me that they thought that Chaco was the world capital of spirals. And there are hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of spirals. I think in those first 114 sites that we recorded, I think there was 550 spirals, and they're all different kinds of spirals. And as I said, there are spirals all over the world. It seems like every culture that I've ever heard about has spirals, and within that culture, they have 100 different meanings for them. 100, they can describe them in many different ways, and that's what we probably have here. And when we were in the field school, the New Mexico Field School, in 1977, Jay Crotty's team went up on the top of Fajada Butte, where I pointed out at the beginning. And Anna Sofair was on the team, and she noticed that the light from the sun came through onto this spiral that's behind these slabs here, and it went right down the middle of them. We were up there, and on April 28th, and the same thing happened. So I think there's a lot of questions that can be asked about this. Now, they made me go up. I am terrified of heights. And if you'll notice, this is me going up. We had two beautiful young mountain climbers to help us, mostly help me. And then, so going up was pretty terrible. But coming back down, I had to belay back down. And these pictures aren't too good because it was from a movie film. All my team made fun of me and that, but it was okay. And so this is coming from the top back down. We had to come down this sheer thing here. This is us coming back down. This is us hanging out in the middle of nowhere, and this is coming here. And it's the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life. But they said I had to do it. I'd been every place else in the canyon. I had to go there too. Now, the Chacoans were very careful about where they placed their rock art, and is the same as everywhere else in the Southwest. They predominantly put their rock art facing east or south. They also put them at the mouths of the side canyons. So that's where most of the rock art is. And the biggest concentration is in the central part of the canyon. And here's a place that I haven't been able to get into for quite a while. For many, since I gained some weight, and I can't get in here without touching the glyphs, and I don't touch the glyphs, and my students say that I don't let them breathe on the glyphs, But so there's very hidden sites. So that not just out in the open. And this is one that faces due west. And it's got lots of flute players on it, and macaws, handprints. Here's another flute player. And then some of the panels of rock art were indoors. And here's one that was indoors. This also has 13 spirals on it. And I think there's 2 other panels that we found that have 13 spirals. And here is that same panel right here. You can see the wall in front of it. And there's also some plaster up on the top. Here's another with a bigger wall and lots of rock art that you can't see. And then there's these things that we call grooves, and I don't think they're rock art, but sometimes they put them in with the rock art, and people don't know what they are. There's many, many mysteries about Chaco Canyon, and this is another one of them. Some people say that they're for sharpening tools, but they sharpen tools, and someplace, not they don't do it here, but they do it someplace else, and the tools don't come out sharpened. So there's lots of ideas of what this might be. Now, getting back to these skilled people that made them. Now here is one single element, and it was first pecked, and then it was abraded, and then it was incised, and then the eyes were drilled. So that they took 4 different techniques. And so this is like a mixed media thing. And I have never found, and I've never had anybody tell me, and I've asked people all over the world to tell me where there is a place where they have used these many, they can't even do 3 different techniques for one element. So this is very unique, I believe. And here's like a water bird that has been pecked, abraded, incised. Here's a little bit of paint up here that's well protected. And then we have a bas relief, a low relief. They use many different techniques. And we have a high relief, and these here are over here, and this is an even higher relief. And the only place I've seen the reliefs this is an Easter Island. These are one of the birdmen. I also saw one in Africa. Yeah. In sometime between 1300 and 1500, and a lot of people have different dates here. The Navajo people moved into Chaco, and they moved in from the northeast, from the area that's called the Dineta. And their rock art is completely different. And their rock art is usually in some place very different from where the ancient Chacoans made their rock art. It's usually on boulders, and it's not near their rock art or their buildings. And it's very realistic. And mostly it's scratched. Mostly it's scratched. And this, you can recognize a ceremony that Chacoans, that the Navajos hold today. There's the women ask the men to dance. This is a public part of the ceremony. And women ask the men to dance, and then the men have to pay the women at the end, and they dance around in a circle. Here's a cradle board here. And then there are these beautiful women, and these are the ones that I wanted to go back and record. And with lots and lots of details, and we've got hairdos, and we've got beads, and we've got braids, and we've got cradle boards and babies and all kinds of details in these pictures. And they're probably Navajos, but some people think that they may be Plains Indians, because Plains Indians came in a couple of times during historic times that the Navajos might have seen. And the Navajos love horses, and here is some horses. And David Brugge could tell by the gear on the horses when they were done, because this is a Spanish bridle, and he wrote a paper before he passed, and that paper will be in a book that Jenny Wong Rilk has written on Chaco rock art, that I don't know when it's coming out, but it's in press at the University of New Mexico. And more horses, and this is a hunt. And Navajo rock art is often very narrative, and it shows scenes. Some people think this might be a depiction of the killing of Richard Witherell. Richard Witherell was did some excavation around 1900 in Chaco, and he had a trading post there, and he was shot and killed. And there's some people think by one person, some people think by another. So there's a big controversy there too. And then this is another Navajo ceremony. And this was the drawing that we did. And a sand painting, a Navajo sand painting. So the Navajo rock art is very, very different from the ancient Chacoans. And then the army came through, and this has one that's a date has 1858 in it. There's lots of inscriptions in Chaco. And then there were Hispanic sheep herders, and Lolo Chavez left his name all over the canyon. And somebody left this message, Jean, I cannot get no feed. I cannot wait for you. And in 1920, Judd's excavation, a Zuni worker painted this mask here. And in 1970s, and our host was part of this, Bill was part of the survey, when they did a big survey of Chaco, and we think that this, maybe Bill knows, was painted during that time by a student in deep into a side canyon. You have to climb over boulders and go through brush and that to get to. Now, as I said, some of our the people who have worked with us are Native Americans, and this is Melanie Yazzie, an artist and a professor. And here is another spiral. And what has happened here is it's repecked, it's very carefully repecked, but it's also been patinated over. It's not back to the original color of the rock, but it has somewhat. And so we think that the ancient ones did this, that maybe they were using it for some reason. But there's a number of glyphs in the canyon where they have careful repecking. But a lot of the rock art is going, and some of it is deteriorating and eroding. And some of them just falling down. We recorded this, I think, in something like 2002 or 3. And a few years later, we came back, and it was like somebody sliced a piece of bread off of this, because this picture here is under here. Or if it's not under here, it's been sanded off by now. But I can't imagine how many rock art panels are gone. There are several that we know that we recorded that are gone. And that was just a short amount of time. And UNM, University of New Mexico, did some work in Chaco. Didn't pay much attention to rock art, but when they did, they put chalk on it. And so we don't know if this is still here like that. This still looks like this, but the chalk probably has eaten away at the rock. So the glyph itself is probably not here anymore. And then the Park Service, I think this was in the 50s, they decided that they would get rid of some of the graffiti. And so this is the way they did it. And I call them the Chaco Chunkers. And then we have this problem. This is a problem today. They have been drilling for oil and gas here. And Paul Reed has been working hard to try to get this stopped. And it was pretty successful there for a while, but then who knows what's going on with the present government. So we started recording again in 1996. The recording that we did with the New Mexico Society was we just worked with the surveys forms and pretty quickly we went through these things. And so we came back and we did more in-depth recording. And in some places we found 10 times more rock art than we had in the 70s. And we record, we photograph, we do very simple, easy and cheap recordings so that we can get a lot done, and we can use and you know, anybody who wants to put their effort in it can. And so we use well, we were doing slides. We used to do slides and do black and white photography, and then we eventually changed to digital, but we still do black and white photography. And what we do string grid drawings, we do scale drawings, and we use a string grid like this. We put it up over the glyph, and then we have the same grid on the piece of paper. This is a 1 meter grid, and this is a 2 meter grid. And anybody can do this if they have patience. And both of our hosts have done this and have done a very good job doing this, I'm pleased to say. Now, there are so many people who have worked with us. And I started to put in pictures of people, and I had to put in more people, and I couldn't stop. And I made lists of people, and I had, it was impossible. So anyways, this picture has 3 important people in it that I will tell you about. This is Donna Yoder, and Donna was the field and records manager. Jenny Wong Rilk is the person who will be with Monica Seibel, Wadsworth Seibel. They will be taking over the project and moving it forward. And this is Bill Gillespie, who is our co-host, and he has come and done wonderful work and given us wonderful stories about what happened in Chaco. He knows everything that anybody could possibly want to know, and he gives us a really good time. It's fun to work with him. And we've had some problems. And here's my old truck. And I want you to know that the name of my autobiography is going to be Places I Have Been Stuck. And this is Tom Wines, who's been wonderful to work with, but he gets stuck all the time. And this is Monica, who's going to also be leading the project. And here I'm not sure if this is my truck or not, but Chaco has a wonderful way of mixing dried tumbleweed, and then it takes the tumbleweed, rolls into the mud clay, and then the mud clay gets into the wheel wells and turns to plaster. And it's very hard to move a vehicle after that. And that's what's happening here. Now, I cannot interpret the rock art. It's not my place to interpret rock art. If it's to be interpreted, it should be interpreted by the descendants of the people who made it. And this is Marilyn Frederick. She's Hopi, and she came out and she worked with us for quite a while, and then she went with us to an international rock art conference in Spain, and she presented a paper interpreting this image here. Another place that they put images were what we call pedestals, and where the rock, they used the place where the rock pulled ahead or pulled away from the cliff face, and then they could stand there, and then they could make glyphs. And another thing I didn't mention before was that we have quite a lot of serpentine figures, and they're often there's often two of things and a lot of things in Chaco. Here's another one, and this is on a place that's open to the public, that's passed by many, many people, and no one had our team had not seen it. And we had all walked past, we had all looked at everything, and then Don Weaver worked with us for a long time. He saw this. And here's another one that's can be seen in public. Here is the Wetherill Cemetery, and right up here, there's a long pedestal, and above it are all these figures. And then there's places like this up here. And I asked the stabilization crew, I said, how'd they get there? And they told me they flew up there, but obviously they had ropes and they had ladders and they built scaffolding. And this work that's up high, that's hard to see, I believe people weren't, or everybody wasn't meant to see it. That they put them in these places where it was difficult to see. People had to learn. Here's another indoor one. Here's the beam seats. And you can tell that this was done before they built this. And after a while of seeing these big, beautiful panels, we decided there was kind of a pattern there, and we decided we would call them great panels. And they had these combinations to them. They're high in a cliff wall. They had a splayed-like figure like this, like that. A foot, a hand, a spiral, an animal. 3/4 of the figures were recognizable. That's the word we're using. That means we can tell what it is in our culture. And compositional, that means it relates to the other. It's well planned in the space. It has a commanding view. You can see from far away, and it's skillfully created. And this is the largest one that we have found, and it's under where I think I didn't mention the roads. Chaco has a very wonderful road system, and some of the roads end up here. I have taken people who stood there for 15 minutes and they couldn't see anything. And you can't see anything in this picture here, but this is here. I promise it's all here. And this is just a detail of one part of that. And you can see why I think that Chaco has great rock art, and people just didn't see it because it was maybe not meant to see. We also have murals, quite a number of murals, and we made the visitors like to ask about rock art. It's become popular, and so I made a booklet just between Chetro and Pueblo Bonito. There's a bunch of rock art to see. And there's having they made some educational signs. I think they put too many words in it, but they used the money that we found. They caught some vandals, and they used the money that they got from the vandals' family to build these. And there are students that it's now acceptable in some universities to study rock art, and there's several students that have worked with us or who have contacted us who have gotten their master's theses in Chaco rock art, and there's a couple of doctoral students who are working on Chaco rock art. We had Yanni Lauser is a rock art conservator, and he came out and he taught the stabilization crew out there and our team how to remove graffiti or how to disguise it if we couldn't do that. I want to point out that this here is Dabney Ford, who was the reason that we did all the work we did. She was a great leader. She was the head of cultural resources at Chaco, and she was very, very supportive of us. And this is Roger Moore, who was also a archaeologist at Chaco, who helped us. And we went back a couple of years ago, and here this is the site that we did the most amount of work in. This is the site they wanted us to come back to when they asked us to come back. First site they wanted us to do, because this is in the campground, and it was the most vandalized. And so we came back, we recorded that, and then they were going to have Yanni come out and do some some work there, and so we had to record it all. So we had to record all the graffiti and that. So we did that, and then we had to record it after he fixed it up, and so we did that. And then this was it in 1998, and this is it now. This whole thing fell down. This whole film, and there's lots of rock art and lots of buildings that are gone. Well, they're there still, but we can't see them anymore. And as I said, I can't tell you what Chaco rock art means, but I do know that this is a saxophone player, and this one may be a clarinet player. But Chaco rock art is something that is wonderful, and I know that there is much that we could learn from Chaco rock art. We will learn a lot from Chaco rock art that we can learn from nothing else in Chaco. And the more that we see, and the more that we work with it, it will give us a lot more understanding of Chaco. And these are some of our friends, and they help take care of it. So thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you, Jane. That was great. I mean, what a fabulous overview of Chaco rock art, which is mind-boggling. It just it always amazes me at how much is there.
Mm.
Yeah. We'll get to questions and comments in a bit, but first, going to ask Al Dart, who wants to give some information about Old Pueblo's mission and activities. While you're doing that, think of questions and put them in the Q&A rather than the chat. We got to, I noticed we got lots and lots of chats, and there are a few questions that got slipped in there too. But if you could go to the Q&A instead, that'd be great. So Al?
Yeah, and speaking of chat, I think we've had more chat comments on this program than any previous program that we've done on Zoom. Okay, Jane, I need for you to stop your share so I can show some slides here, please. So move your cursor. Okay, got it. And then let me share mine. I'd like to just tell you some things about what Old Pueblo Archaeology Center does. We're a nonprofit organization based in Tucson. We do education and research programs in archaeology, history, and cultures. See if I can move my things up here. So just a few things. Our mission is basically to educate people about archaeology and other cultures, to foster preservation of archaeological and historical sites, and to have people develop a lifelong concern for the importance of non-renewable resources in traditional cultures. So some ways in which we implement our mission: we do a lot of educational tours. Here are 4 of the main ones we have coming up starting in September. The autumn equinox tour will go to Los Morteros Hohokam Village site and the Picture Rocks petroglyph site just outside of Tucson. And this will be on the autumn equinox, when there is a spiral petroglyph here at Picture Rocks that interacts with the sunlight to form a sun dagger on every equinox day and on summer solstice days. Later in September, we're going to be offering a tour to the Dragoon Springs and Cochise Howard Treaty site in Cochise County, southeastern Arizona. That tour has now filled. We do have a waiting list for it. So if you want to get on the waiting list, send us an email. In October, we have a tour locally in the Tucson area. It's actually in Marana, Arizona, about the Yuma Wash Hohokam Village site and the Bajorquez Aguirre Ranch site, which is really all one big site in Marana, Arizona. And then coming up in November, we're offering a tour at the Park of Four Waters in Phoenix, which is right next to Ciudad Vallequi Museum and Park, which used to be called Pueblo Grande Museum. The Park of Four Waters is where segments of 4 major canals that the Hohokam built, real near where they tapped off the Salt River, and they're the biggest canals left for the Hohokam culture that you can see. This area is usually closed to the public. So we've made special arrangements to do a tour in there, also to see the platform mound and the museum, that's Davaki. And then after that, we're going to be going into the South Mountains, south of Phoenix, to see several petroglyph sites in Pima Canyon there. And we have more tours beyond that coming up in December and January. So you can take a look at our website in our events section. There's a little thing on the homepage. Just click on events and you can see what we're planning in upcoming weeks and months. We also offer arrowhead making and flint knapping workshops. Probably the next one will be this fall with our expert flint knapper, Sam Greenleaf. I'll be offering a Zoom class on the Hohokam culture of Southern Arizona starting in September. It'll be on Wednesday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Arizona time, which is different from most of the rest of the country, unfortunately. And that, like I said, that'll be online, so you can tune in to that from anywhere. We do have a pretty substantial online presence now. We publish a quarterly bulletin called Old Pueblo Archaeology. Each one has at least one major feature article in it, usually two. This is our most recent two that have been published. That's an all electronic bulletin. We don't actually print it. One of the big things we do anymore is offer emails twice a month of upcoming activities in the Southwest of many different archaeology related organizations. So it's not just Old Pueblo Archaeology Center's activities. And you can get onto that email list by just sending us an email, info@oldpueblo.org, and ask to be added to our mailing list. Or you can go to our homepage and look for this subscribe window and just enter your name and email address there to get onto our emailing list. Our next third Thursday Food for Thought program is titled Copper Networks in the U.S. Southwest, Mexican Northwest, and Mesoamerica. And this will be a special presentation with Mexico archaeologist Jose Luis Ponto Diaz about copper in the Southwest. The photograph here is a cache of copper bells and over 100,000 stone beads that was found in a cache just north of Tucson, back in I believe, the 1940s. So that'll be on August 21st, same time as our program tonight. The main thing that we spend our money on, and we really appreciate donations and memberships to support this, is our children's education program. We have a simulated archaeological dig site set up at our office facility in Tucson, where we bring whole classrooms of kids in to teach them about archaeology and the scientific method. So any money you contribute, most of your contribution is going to go to that program. So tonight we're kind of passing the hat figuratively, asking people to support us, send us donations. If you'd like to become a member and support us, once a year with a membership, that's even better. And you can also just contribute if you want. So I'm going to put these website links in the chat here in a minute, so you can click those and download them to get to these various places to see what I've been talking about. So with that, let's take some Q&A for Jane.
All righty, thanks, Al. And get back to the questions and answers there. Well, the answers. Jane's going to do the answers, but not a lot of questions, but just go through them and then go to the ones that I think are hidden in the chats here and there. But Tony Hull asks, what's do 13 spirals mean?
Tony Hall asked that?
Yes.
I don't think he was serious.
Okay.
Maybe he knows what it means.
No.
Tony's a wonderful astronomer and has worked with us.
Okay, we'll leave that for now. But, Timothy
I don't
asks,
know what it means.
yeah, there's a question. Do you know how people originally ascended the butte to create the rock carvings? It was a natural passage that has since eroded. I think I can answer that one about Fajada and the butte. Yeah, there's a chimney on the backside, or on the southwest side that's if you're someone in their 20s like I was, it's nothing. You just scamper right up there, and it's pretty easy climbing, daytime, nighttime, it doesn't matter.
Not
I'm
anymore.
not in my 20s anymore, and it's been closed off to everybody for decades now. behind gate, locked gate.
Bill, you might want to explain what you mean by a chimney here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just there's a little slot in the rocks through the main cliff that you can scamper up. Advisable with ropes, not necessary back in the day. And that takes you up to the first bench level. And there are quite a few rock art panels and structures on that bench. And then the sun dagger is up at the top level. And it's not a difficult ascent, or wasn't. It is now.
I don't think anybody goes up anymore. I think it's become
Nope.
too dangerous. They put a locked like a door on the bottom of the chute,
Right.
and so you can't get through that. But I think nobody goes up anymore because it's gotten very dangerous.
Well, and closed for other reasons too, just because
You're
it's a
right.
special place. And so it's closed to the public, it's closed to researchers, it's closed to Park Service employees, everybody.
And it's probably the reason why the sun dagger doesn't work anymore, because too many people were up there.
Yeah, it caused one of the rocks to slide.
Mhm.
So Paula says, I volunteered at Chaco with the New Mexico Site Watch for 7 years, mainly monitoring rock art sites for damage. Does anybody doing that now?
I don't know. Yes, they had a wonderful site steward program that were based on our records. They would take our drawings out and check with them, and they were really doing a great job through the New Mexico SHPO. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So many things have been disrupted since
Yeah,
pandemic time, and site
right.
steward program's been one of them. Angela, do you use D-stretch?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Dan, you want to explain what D-stretch is for anybody who might not know?
Well,
If you want.
it's a way of with paintings of bringing the colors out with different filters on your camera.
Yeah, it works much better on pictographs than it does on petroglyphs.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, Ted says he's noticed in the past decade or so, archaeologists using the term rock imagery more and rock art less. As I understand it, native elders tell us the images their ancestors made are not, quote, art, because they were not created to make viewers feel a certain way. But clearly this view isn't universal. What does your own experience in the field tell us?
I think that art is a very important thing, and I think I think that it's I think I'd have to have a longer time to explain what I think about this, but I think that art fits it, and I think I don't know how to say it in just a few words.
Hmm.
Sorry.
Yes, don't apologize. So Deborah says, were spirals noticeably created during different eras and beginning when?
We have not been able to, we cannot date rock art, and we can't date the rock art that in Chaco. We did, I showed a picture oh, of a rock art, a person who dates rock art, and Marvin Rowe, and he dates paintings, and we had him come out, and he went to a painting cave, and he took a sample from the background, not the paint, and there was too much organic material in the background, so he couldn't date it. And so that stopped that. Besides, we would have to get 26 different tribes okaying taking some paint off to data. So nothing has been done, and there is no exact dating of proper dating of petroglyphs yet. Did I say that right?
Sounds good.
Oh, okay.
Todd's got a follow-up question. Did the Chaco creators of the images return and add more figures over decades or centuries, or did they create all the figures in a panel at the same time?
Well, we don't have any what we call superimposition. And it's most of the Southwest has superimposition. That means a rock art image was put on top of another rock art image. It's hardly anything like that in Chaco. So we don't know. And because of the lack of patina, it's hard to tell. In some places you can see that the patina is very heavy and not so heavy in another place. And you can suppose that these were done on different times, but we don't see that in Chaco.
So Aaron Wright asked, is there any archaic era imagery in Chaco?
We don't know again by the because of dating. Now the cave that we took the sample from, there were atlatls found in that cave, but that doesn't mean that the people who used the atlatls did the paintings. So I haven't been able to figure out yet which are earlier and which are later.
Okay, got good evidence of basket maker 2 and pre-ceramic, but for pre-basket maker 2, I think it's very uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
Susanna says, is the alcove at the campground liable to collapse even more? MPS has closed several of the nearby campsites, presumably due to the danger. Thank you for the presentation. I'll just say what I know. Well, Jane just went out and did an inspection in February. So most recently, but we were there right after that collapsed, and they had closed some of the campsites and thought they were in danger. And then when it started collapsing and kept collapsing, it took out some of the campsites that they had not closed. So after that happened, they closed off about a half of the campground. So trying to be a little more cautious. That was kind of an eye opener when they knew some of it was collapsing, and it ended up being a whole lot more than they anticipated. Personally, I think it's pretty much done, but they're not going to let anybody close it again. I'm going to switch over the chat and some of the questions I saw there. A lot of it's, let's see. Someone was asking about, is there some symbolism to the 6 or multi-toed feet?
There was a 6-footed that is skeleton found in Pueblo Bonito.
6-toed.
Yeah, 6-toed. I think they ended up going back and
6-footed.
looking, and there are probably at least 3 individuals there with 6 toes. And there's Patty Crown from New Mexico has done and her several colleagues have done some research into that and working and talking about it and putting in a context of comparing, like in Maya world, 6-toed people are held in some reverence and have a better chance of going to the afterlife and such. And people have speculated that it might be a feature of the elite folks at Bonito, the upper class there. It's really interesting. It shows up, finding skeletons to confirm what there's so much of the rock art there. This definitely was some special, something particularly at Bonito. Let's see, let's see. Uh, Jane, what about Navajo Shibikashi facing west, but recognizing sunrise? Hmm,
Shibikshi, that facing west.
This is Tony Hall.
Tony, that one he did a paper on. He knows more about it than I do.
Want me to unmute him so he can explain it?
Well, you're doing that. There's a comment I like. Wines, exclamation mark, heart. That's good.
With what?
Wines, exclamation mark, heart.
Oh,
A Tom Wine from Lita.
yeah, let me find Tony here. I'll unmute him and talk. Okay, Tony, go ahead. You want to unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes, barely.
Yeah.
Absolutely thrilled by this presentation, and there's so much depth and so many surprises in Chaco. It's really, really amazing. Most of my work has been in the Shibikashi area, which is Navajo, which has been Navajo habitation, but there's also Chaco and rock art there, and it's been marvelous to look at it, record it. Could you summarize the question?
Well, the question was something you asked about, what about Shibikashi facing west and for
Oh,
the
yeah.
sunrise?
Oh, yes. Well, it was mentioned earlier that much of the rock art was facing east, and of course the seminal panels were what David Brugge describes as the dance circle for sunrise. The rock art faces west, but of course you're looking at that as you look at the sunrise, so it may be very consistent, and that's not Chacoan, it's Navajo. So it was just a quick question, a quick comment here, but that there are so many things to observe, and as I've been trained, one always wants to observe whatever you see within the context of a locus, not a single piece. And there's quite a bit of rock art in the Shibikashi area, which is located to the southwest of Ujiji, for those who go to Chaco. Remarkable
Great.
place.
Southeast.
Southeast.
Southeast, I'm sorry, southeast, yes.
Well, that's cool.
Thanks, Tony.
So it's
Another one is the rock art that depicts domestic animals.
Um, domestic animals like
Dogs or turkeys.
I'm sure a lot of Navajo horses, but I think we're
oh
probably
yeah there's
turkeys and dogs, so I probably.
turkeys. We got turkeys. And I think there was a couple that could have been dogs, but not sure, but definitely turkeys.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions here.
Yeah,
Unless
there's a
there's
couple
something
more.
else.
One from Markliff. Can you explain how you make your drawings for those who might not know?
Oh, that's right. I missed that. Forgot, skipped over it.
Okay, we do our drawings by we put up a string grid that's 1 meter big, square, should I say, and it's got strings in it that are 10 centimeters square. We put that over the petroglyph, and then we have a piece of paper with the same grid on the paper, and then we just draw from one square to the other. And it is not an exact replica, but it's pretty close. It's close enough to be able to get a good idea of what is up there. And it could be, if you spent maybe all day, you could get it much more exact, but we usually spend about an hour or two on a drawing at the most, because we have so many to do. But it gives us a good, certainly better image than the photograph does. Much more detail.
Yeah, you had a couple of slides showing work with the string grids
Mhm.
in there, a couple of photos. Another one from Leslie. Could you please share a bit more about the sand drawings? Are these similar in shape to paintings or engravings in the area?
The sand drawings?
I think you were mentioning Navajo sand paintings that depicted in.
Oh, the sand painting? A sand painting is a part of Navajo ceremony, of many Navajo ceremonies that are done indoors. And this is an image of like a sand painting, and I went there with a Navajo medicine man who called it a sand painting.
But it's actually a depiction on the rock, correct?
Yes, it's on a rock.
Yeah, okay. I don't think there's any more, Bill, unless you say something. Might have gotten one more chat or Q&A. You might want to take a look in there. I'm scrolling through the chat right now.
Okay, look at the Q&A. Oh yeah, a lot of today's graffiti is done by kids and teenagers. How do we know whether rock art was done by adults, kids, or who in their culture? And how much had a spiritual significance?
Good question.
Not really your typical graffiti that we recognize in our culture anyway.
But there's some wonderful graffiti that's being done today.
It's true. A lot of the spray paint stuff.
And Tony's back. That's to comment again, domestic animals question mark, but he says Ramona commented on the great sun shield at Shabikashi as a sand painting.
One of the one of the rangers,
No, Ramona.
Navajo Ranger.
Okay, I think we wrap it up here.
Okay, just one of the late chat things, Cynthia is asking, is this program being recorded? May have come in a little bit late. We are recording it, but we don't yet have permission from the National Park Service to post it on our YouTube channel. So we're seeking permission for that. If we do get permission, we will post it on Old Pueblo Archaeology Center's YouTube channel as soon as we get permission, if we get it.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jane. That was great. I mean, just, got me, and I think most of the people watching here yearning to go back to Chaco and check things out more. So on behalf of the Old Pueblo Archaeology Center, I want to thank our speaker, Jane, for sharing with us this evening. I also thank all of you in the audience for joining us tonight. And I'd like you to consider, please, making a donation to support Old Pueblo's education efforts to educate children and adults about archaeology, history, and cultures, including through programs like this one. So thank you all, and good night.
Thank you, Jane. That was a great first time presentation.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Good night.
I
everyone.
appreciate all your help. You were great helping.
I enjoyed it, believe me.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Good night, everybody.